and he remembered meeting me like 10 years before, and he rang up Maggie, and I think she came over, didn't she? I can't remember now because there were a lot of people around. But the other thing I remember, Al, is I took you to the Washington, D.C. branch of the Celtic Supporters Club.
Yeah.
Utterly astonishing, right? And I mean, to say that Celtic is one of the best supported clubs in the world, you know, America was nothing like a football country in those days that it is today. And it was near the station. They've got a very historic station in Washington, D.C. It's a beautiful architecturally listed building. I knew exactly where the bar was. And the guys got hold of me and said, can you bring Al along? They knew you were a huge Celtic fan. And we walked in there, and there were pictures all over the wall of all Celtic heroes and yourself. I don't know where they got them from.
Well, there's, you know, it's like anywhere in the world you go, you find Scousers, Londoners, and Glaswegians. It's amazing. You know, there's Rangers and Celtic clubs anywhere in the world. Hong Kong, Singapore, you name it, they're everywhere. It's amazing.
No, I totally agree.
And then we ended up in Smith and Walensky, didn't we? The steakhouse.
We did, yeah, of course we did. Yeah, it was terrific. I mean, I don't think we slept, you know, for about 60 hours because of the adrenaline and all that. But what I do remember is when we got there, there was a guy standing there with a card, you know, a white card at Dulles, and, you know...
Limousine company.
Yeah, and it had our name on it. And I said to this guy, sorry, who are you? Now, what did you brand the name of the driver?
Benson,
that's right. From
lovely
where?
guy. He'd a name similar, and so we just said, "Look, I'll never remember that." Yeah. Benson, let's call you Benson. He was a gent, and he says, "Guys, you don't go anywhere in this city without me. Right. I am Mr. Washington. I will take you where you want, and you're safe."
He was 6'4", wore a long.
Brilliant, he was.
Sorry,
he was brilliant.
Yeah, wore a long leather coat and a leather cap. And when we got in the car and he was taking us to the hotel, he said, "Where did you come from?" And he said, this company is part of a worldwide, you know, network of limos, you know, limo companies. And there's a guy in England who's your biggest fans on your breakfast show. And we had an instruction that we pick you up at Dulles and we look after you all the time you're here. And we had him on call all the time we were there. It was an amazing situation. It really was.
But that's the beauty of radio. You know, when you're doing live radio, you never know what's going to happen, do you? And I remember broadcasting you when the Twin Towers went down.
Oh, yeah.
I remember exactly where I was. I was in Piccadilly, Langan's Brasserie. Yeah. When the word came through, my wife texted me. I went, "What? You've got that wrong."
Yeah.
And I was thinking it was a little tiny aircraft. And, of course, then the drama, then the tragedy, then the heartbreak.
Yeah.
And I remember going back to the city. I was in a little bar near my Italian restaurant, Enzo's Italian, the Bow Wine Vaults. And I always remember there was some giggling, they weren't young, but they were 21, 22-year-olds who had obviously maybe the first year in the city, and they were on the wine, and they were a bit, not a bit, they were tiddly, they were hammered.
Yeah.
And this seemed to just bypass them what had just happened. And I remember having a row while I'm saying, Oi, do you realise what's just happened?
No respect. Yeah.
Unbelievable. You know, to be fair, they were young. They were, you know, and for them, they probably thought it was miles away. It's a long. Yeah. But I just, my jaw dropped watching this. I just cut, right? But and then the next day, I have to say you were brilliant on radio because you knew all about, because, you know, you knew about Washington, you knew New York. And that's the beauty of doing radio, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is, Alan. And you're absolutely right. Initially, I thought a light aircraft had hit one of the Twin Towers. I had no idea until we suddenly got onto live TV that there was another aircraft flying into the other tower. It was utterly remarkable, the whole thing. And if you remember, Al, we left Washington after 3.5 days in the limo, heading off to Dulles for a flight that was taking off at about sort of 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. And Benson had asked us what sort of music we liked while we were there. And do you remember he played us Help Me Rhonda?
Yeah, the Beach Boys.
Yeah, Help Me Rhonda, help me Rhonda. And it was minus 22, and we'd just done this great show. Got back on the plane and flew back to Britain on a British Airways jumbo in first class that was empty of anybody else. And that was the first time I found out, Al, that if you travel first class, you don't wait for somebody to bring the food round. You ask them, you tell them when you want to eat, and they go and cook it for you personally. It's fantastic.
Well, of course, with this current crisis, mate, worldwide crisis, airlines are going to change now, aren't they? You know, it's the money that's been lost and through no one's fault. You might, first class may not be first class anymore, or
No,
business class, or if it is, you might end up having to pay double the way things are going, because somehow businesses are going to have to claw back money, and lots of it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's booming at the moment, Al, remarkably, is the hire and use of private jets, because the wealthy, and you've got to admit, over the last 10 or 20 years, the wealthiest people in Britain have just got wealthier and wealthier.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not British, but I was reading about Jeff Bezos this morning, the boss of Amazon. Do you know his fortune has increased by 24 billion since the start of this crisis, purely through people having to get stuff delivered to their homes, right?
No, it's amazing. It really is.
It's absolutely amazing. And what's happening is, because you can't fly, or you can't fly with with other people on commercial jets, the number of private jets now is running out in the world, and the demand is enormous, and the cost of using them is going up. And the main countries in the world, after America and China, that are using them are all the European countries, UK, Italy, Spain, Germany. And there's so much money in the world, Al, so much money that you and I don't even know about. I mean, how much money do you think has come out of Russia over the last 20 years, which is now in European bank accounts, eh?
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? And that's why they do it. Listen, mate, I was going to talk to you about something, because it's high on your agenda. Did you know that as we're recording today, it's Sir Tony McCoy's 46th birthday, okay?
Now, there is no wonder he's called the champ. Now, what a great guy he is, by the way.
I was about to say, I know you've had...
You got to keep the mic close to your mouth, mate, because you keep drifting in and out, mate. Honestly.
No.
You're not used to holding a mic so close, you see.
Yeah, go on, mate. Yeah.
No, honestly, Tony McCoy, that guy is a bit like Barry Sheen. Remember Barry Sheen?
Of course,
on his bike, he almost broke every bone in his body. Well, McCoy is just like that. He is sensational. You won't meet anyone more down to earth. He's a big Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
Although I think you'll find that his dad did take him now and again to Celtic games.
Yes.
Over in Glasgow. As a lot of Northern Ireland people do, they go and see Rangers or Celtic.
Yeah.
But Tony's a big Arsenal fan. And I've got to know Tony very, very well. And
have you really?
You bet your boots. Oh, God, yeah. He does a lot with the lovely man, JP McManus.
Yes.
JP is, you talk about Coolmore, Ballydoyle.
Yes.
The John Magnays of this world, and Michael Tabor, Dermot Desmond. They call them the Irish. I was going to say mafia, but they're not. They're clearly not. They're just, they're so entrepreneurish that they've done so well for themselves. And Coolmore now, Ballydoyle is an empire.
Yeah, of course.
They control world breeding. It's amazing.
They're the Irish genie, IL. They're very, very clever and brilliant businessmen. Like John Magnier included in this.
Yeah, he's one of the brains behind it.
Yeah.
You've also got Derek Smith. Derek was a bookmaker a long time ago. He's now in there. Yeah. Michael Tabor, a man from the East End.
Yeah.
Who's I was on his boat, Hurricane Run, I think, or Hurricane Flat. I think it was Hurricane Run in Monaco. Yeah. Back to Monaco again. And these people are so that they employ so many people over there as well in Ireland. Tony, anyway, the point I was making, Tony does a lot of work for JP McManus, who is an incredible charity giver, this fella.
Yeah.
He had a lunch with him not so long ago in the beautiful up in the West End, Scott's restaurant, private restaurant downstairs.
Love it.
And that chap, he gives millions to charity.
Yes, I know. What amazes me, Al, is Tony McCoy, because he's knighted, of course, for his services to racing. He's only 46 today. He was champion jockey for 20 years, and he's been retired for 3 years.
The poor guy who had to watch his backside most of the time was Richard Johnson.
Yes, that's right.
Who was runner-up so many times. So, I think as much as we miss Tony McCoy, a lot of jockeys thought, thank God he's gone.
Yeah. Absolutely. It says here, because I've just looked at a review of his life, Tony McCoy had spent years dieting to keep his weight down, and once admitted that his Christmas dinner consisted of just 597 calories. That's actually about a ham roll level. I mean, these guys must have just killed themselves for years.
Oh, Mike, and they're the good ones. There's a lot of guys who a living have to do the same as well. And what they have done, which the Jockey Club have been brilliant, they've stopped jockeys driving here, there, everywhere, because fatigue sets in when you're not eating. And there was, and it was really dangerous because the more rides you get, the more money you make. And again, I'm talking maybe not the top notch because they jump in helicopters, don't they? But the normal run of the mill, good, honest, hardworking jockeys, they to try and get sort of 6-7 rides a day, they were traveling from north to south, and it was no good. So pray God, I think it was a good decision with the Jockey Club. But racing, only this morning I spoke to our very own Mickey Quinn.
Oh, right.
Of course, used to be the number 9 for Newcastle United. Down in Newmarket, a quick chat with Mickey. I said, how are things? He said, we're ready to go. We are ready to go. Now, they're talking about racing. Could start maybe with like a Lingfield all weather and Newcastle where they can contain it more.
Yes.
Where they can, and of course, we're not talking about spectators there. We're talking about just the minimum bare staff.
Yeah, sure.
So racing, they're ready to go. They're just waiting for the government green light, and we will be racing again. There's a big national NHS service health trust coming up at Chelmsford Racing, and that'll be a date which will be published soon. I'm going to attend that. But I think anyone who works in hospital, doctors, nurses, the carers, whoever works, will all be free admission and looked after. It's going to be great. I look forward to it. Raising funds.
That would be absolutely fantastic, as you say, get racing going again. Also on this day, Al, in 1974, ABBA notched up their first ever UK number 1 hit, Waterloo. Where would you be without Waterloo? Oh, fantastic. One of the greatest.
The times you used to sing that, but mate, I keep telling you, when we used to have before your heart caved in, we'd have a long lunch and you'd head singing ABBA to Waterloo when actually it's Victoria. You get the train back home to Surrey, not Waterloo. That's how you know the song so well.
Yeah, that was a bit of a problem for a while. Listen, mate, while we've got the opportunity to talk, what do you think of the latest crime blockbuster on TV, Gangs of London?
Very dark, very brutal. I'll whip through it. I was watching like 2, 3, 4 every night. I don't know where I've finished it now, so I'm waiting for the next series. I don't know where it's going to go, to be honest. We're talking about, I don't want to give too much away because some people wouldn't have seen it, but we're talking about international drug gangs here, aren't they? From Pakistan to Kurdistan, the Kurds, to Turkey, to the Gypsies, they're involved as well, to London, and it is fascinating, but it is brutal, I'll warn you. Some of the killings and some of the scenes are unbelievable.
Now,
do you know any idea where the main family house is? Because I had so many people ask me, say, come on, where is that house? Is it in Wapping? Is it Wapping Lane?
No,
I'll tell you what it is. No, it's in Kew.
Kew, okay.
So that's where the Wallace house is. It's in Kew.
Oh, yeah. Because, of course, you had a guest on. By the way, Al, can I just say, you've found a new army of listening fans on that Thursday and Friday show. Terrific, man, honestly.
Thank you.
And you and Ray. I mean, people are now getting up early just to tune in. It's terrific. Well done, mate. I know I don't have to say that. But what I was going to say is one of your guests on that show was Joe Cole. Now,
correct.
Not the Joe Cole that we've both had dealings with throughout our career as a great footballer for Chelsea and West Ham and England, but Joe Cole, the actor, who's such a humble guy. His Twitter account is the other Joe Cole.
yeah.
Because those two of them. And I have to say,
talking to Joe about it, I've then spoke about Peaky Blinders.
Right.
And
he was in that.
He absolutely adored Peaky Blinders. And he says he was so privileged. Of course, he gets shot in it and was out of the remaining episodes. But he said it was such a pleasure to be involved with Peaky. And to be honest, I'm catching up because of lockdown. I'm still going back. And he basically said, which we know anyway, that Stephen Knight is a genius. And he is the writer of Taboo. Yes. And also Peaky Blinders. He said he's an absolute genius. And also, we went out, didn't we, with Stephen? And he was telling us he was one of the founders of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with Chris Tannen.
I know. And that was a TV show recently. Did you see it?
No, I didn't. No.
Oh, Al, you've got to catch up on that. It's brilliant, honestly. I think the lead actor who played the Major is a guy called McFadden or something. He was in that great series Succession.
Loved it. Brian Cox loved it.
Yeah, Brian Cox. Okay, well, you know the guy who's married to Brian Cox's daughter, the English guy, McFadden. He's the lead in the Millionaire show, which went over 3 episodes. Absolutely brilliant. Honestly, you couldn't write. But getting back to Peaky, you're so right, Al. What a privilege it was for me when you invited me to a screening of Peaky, and as I walked in through the door, the creator and writer Steve Knight presented me with a Peaky Blinders hat. I mean, few moments in your career can surpass that. But what I find is absolutely and utterly astonishing is that Cillian Murphy, who you've also had on your show, right?
Yes.
The range of accents, it must be unbelievable, because you told me he speaks in a broad Irish accent when he's not.
Oh, amazing. And, his brother Arthur as well, what a part he plays in Peaky. Yeah. The psychopath who's the demon drink gets to him. And then he just turns into a monster, But what a part he plays! And I tell you what else for our listeners as well, which I am really hooked on at the moment.
Yeah, go on.
And I'm into the 3rd series. I love it. It's called Medici, right? Medici is about the bankers in Florence and the power broking in Florence and how they developed Florence. And when they talk about
what time. What's the time scale? What era is it?
You're going back to, is it 1400, something like that?
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
It's stunning, but they're still trying to finish off the tower, the massive tower in Florence. But they're talking about young, up-and-coming artists. Leonardo, what's his name again? Da Vinci. Oh, this guy's quite good. It's amazing, I'm telling you. And there's, it's a bit fruity as well, and there's war, there's skullduggery, there's all sorts, some beautiful ladies in it as well. It is, I promise you, Medici, and there's battles between, there's rivalry between Naples, who have got a massive army. They've got the Papal army. You've got the Northern armies as well against Florence. It is just, I love it. I can't get enough of it.
Yeah, well, it's brilliant. Da Vinci, of course, invented the helicopter, which not many people know. When we've flown on helicopters, to race meetings, all that, Al, down to the Epsom Derby and to Cheltenham, it was Leonardo da Vinci who invented the helicopter. I bet you didn't know that, but now our millions of listeners do. Al, just before we go, and it's been an absolute joy to talk to you, mate. Do you think there's a bit too much pessimism around about, COVID at the moment? Do you think we need to get a bit more upbeat and say, come on, we've got to bring life back, get the economy going?
No, I do, Mike. But, I think there was a poll out the other morning. One was on talkSPORT and others I've read about, that people are still a little bit unsure about travelling on transport, i.e. tubes or buses, or mixing in large gatherings. So people still are very wary of this. But every morning, as soon as I wake up, I go into my phone and I look. And the countries that hit most in Europe is quite clearly France, Italy, Spain, and ourselves. Okay? Yeah. But if you look now, it's coming down, it's coming down, it's coming down. Yeah. So we...